everybody. How are we doing today? So welcome to Texas Real Estate and Finance Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Mills, a North Texas mortgage banker. And today we are continuing what we've been doing for the last few weeks and really diving into some more AI. So whether or not you like it or don't like it, it is completely changing everything in society, not to mention real estate and mortgage. And that's what we're going to kind of dive in today. So if you feel overwhelmed as an agent by all these repetitive tasks that you're doing every single day, and you just need a little bit of help, because especially with transactions being fewer these days, saving money and being efficient is incredibly important. And so today I'm joined by Jeff Loyd, and he is the head of strategy at Cloud Team Realty here in Texas. And he's not just a guy talking about AI. He uses it every day. It's his background. It's where he came from. So we're going to learn everything there is to know from this guy. So pay attention, take some notes, and see what you can pull from today. So Jeff, how are we doing?
I am wondrous, and thank you for having me on the show. I'm honored and privileged to be able to speak about something that I am very passionate about.
Well, good. I don't know, privilege, you might take that back once we're done here, but honored, I appreciate it very much. So that's good. So I really like to just kind of get right into it. We'll get into your background a little bit so everybody can kind of figure out where you came from, because you're unique to the real estate space in that you came from tech into real estate versus being in real estate and learning about tech. So I think you have a different perspective than most on this. But if you were, working with your team today, because you guys have a pretty big team all over the state of Texas, as your agents, what you tell them every day, what are 2 or 3 basic tasks that an agent has to do on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis that AI can really have an impact on that you don't think people are taking fully advantage of?
There's a lot is changing. If you asked me the same question 6 months ago, it'd be different.
Yes.
But, nowadays, you can do automated nurturing. Okay.
Okay.
You can do it with voice. I don't like it yet, but I would say, through WhatsApp or the other messaging platforms, or even, through text messaging, nurturing and having pre-qualification of inbound leads and or doing outbound cold outreach through those messaging channels is one thing that does take a lot of time.
It's a lot of setup with that, but once you get it set up, it pretty much runs on its own. Yeah.
That's right. I mean, isn't everything? Yeah. I mean, the reason you do things that are repetitive is because you don't invest in not making it repetitive anymore by automating.
Right. Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah.
So it's a trade-off. Maybe you spend a week, figuring out the process, and then you map it out and you automate it, or you spend a week doing the same thing over and over and over and over. So I don't know. My whole background is what's called DRY, and it's a programming thing. Don't repeat yourself is what it stands for. DRY methodology.
Okay, like that. Like that a lot.
Programmers do a lot of dry coding, right? So they don't repeat the same stuff over and over. I would say, so tools like that, there's a lot out there. I'm not necessarily going to recommend any, but because we made our own, because I don't like the ones that are out there. But we do use other technologies, and I'll talk a little bit about them. CMAs doing. I've met agents who just go look at what Zillow thinks a price is, and then they list a house for that instead of doing the research. Right. So we built AVM tools with AI that look around the neighborhood, look at the house, look at pictures of the house, make recommendations, figure out what that house should probably be priced at. So that's something that is useful. We actually give away a tool on ChatGPT. We made a custom GPT called Val, and he does home valuations for you.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. I really think, especially with that one, with the AVMs, with when you're doing your market analysis and presenting, I think that's incredibly important, especially today, because with the market being slower, right, and buyer or seller's expectations sometimes, if they bought their house 5 years ago or 6 years ago, and they haven't been really paying attention, which a lot of people don't. I mean, if you're not in the real estate business, why would you, be paying attention every day? But if you can have some real, strongly backed data that you can present to someone and say, hey, I know that you think your house is worth $550,000, but based on all of this, square footage, other sales, et cetera, and really lay it out for them in a presentable fashion, which these tools do a great job for that as well, then you're going to really not only enhance your expertise in the eyes of your client, but you're also going to help them come to the realization a little bit quicker that, okay, my expectation of what my house was priced at is not real. Because I think what we're seeing right now in the market, when people talk about price reductions and, values coming down, it's not really that values are coming down. I think they're basically plateauing, but it is that people's expectations going in, that they think their house is going to sell for X amount of dollars, and it's just not, because the market's not allowing for it. And until they go through, a contract with an appraisal that comes in low, or no offers, they have a lot of showings and no offers. It's that whole saying, it's like, if your house isn't selling, what's the problem? And it's always price. The answer is always the price, regardless of, it didn't show well, or the pic. No. That doesn't matter. Your house could look like garbage, but if you price it right, you'll still sell it. You may not price it what you want, but there are ways to get more. But it always comes down to price. So I think a tool like that is incredibly valuable, because it gives the data and it gives rationalization for the data that you can then give to your client, so they understand that a little bit better.
That's right. 100%. And I agree with you 100% on price. Like, I have investors in my circle, and they'll buy anything, but it's going to be at a certain price, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Rats running around the inside, completely distressed, they'll buy it, no problem.
Yeah.
So 100% agree on price. Third, I would say, I'm going to give you a specific tool. Third tool that I would definitely recommend is paying for ChatGPT Plus and or Pro. I would say start with Plus, and when you hit your limits, or if you want to get some more advanced capabilities, go with Pro. When you spend $200 a month on a tool like that, you're spending $200 on your education, your capabilities, not on a SaaS product. So you got to think about it that way. Like, you can leverage these things to do significant work for you. Here's an example. TREC, the Texas Real Estate Commission, right? They give away these high value data sets on their website. It's basically you can get, there's a number of things, but every agent that's ever been licensed and broker that's been licensed since like 1970. So I downloaded that. I put it up in ChatGPT, and I said, tell me everything you know about like the agents in this file, how many, were licensed every year, build me a graph. And it showed me all of the different people. Then I uploaded a bunch of data on the number of transactions by person, or it's actually by their ID, their TREC ID, over that same time period. And I said, tell me about these two data sets. And ChatGPT told me that about 91% of all agents that have ever been licensed aren't practicing anymore.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So that actually was the foundation of why we created Cloud Team Realty. It's all about, like, every agent I talk to, they're like, agent support and leads. That's the one thing I need, or the two things I need. And so many people, I would say, fail out of the career because they don't get support, and they don't know how to create leads, or they don't know how to work leads, or they don't put themselves out there to generate leads, And so, ChatGPT, pay for it. It's worth it for you. But then use it, use it. The more you use something, the better you get at it.
Yeah, the more comfortable you become. I we talked about before, like I do classes to teach agents how to use chat, how to build their own GPTs and all of that kind of stuff. And what I tell them in the class, and even this is a part of it, where I'll say, okay, normally when you come to these classes, you'll sit there with your little notepad, or you'll get your little slides and you'll make your notes with your pen and you'll write everything down. So if you can, don't do that. Sit with your phone. I won't be offended. Sit with your phone and just text, or if you have your laptop open up chat and just start typing in whatever comes to your brain. You don't have to type in what I'm saying. Type in what you're thinking about what I'm saying, and put that into chat while we go through this. And then at the end, once we're done, chat will summarize. It'll create action items. It'll create a plan for you. All the ideas that you have, because this is what happens when any of us go to these classes or these seminars or whatever, is we sit in there for 2 hours or 3 hours. We write down a bunch of stuff. We're like, oh my gosh, I have so many ideas of all the stuff I want to do. Then we go home. Life happens. Your kids need to go to school. You got to take the dog to the vet, whatever. And then it goes away and you forget. And it's not that you forgot it all. It's just that it's in your brain, but now you can't access it because you've moved on to the next thing and you've shifted your mind. And I use chat every day to just dump ideas and dump thoughts into, because I can always go back to it and remember what I wanted and have them create, okay, if you want to do this, you got to do this. If you want to do this, you got to do this. And then say, okay, well, I'm a simple-minded person. I need to step by step. What's the first thing I need to do? I'm like, first thing is to schedule this time and da. So even if it's just you're not using it in real estate yet because you haven't figured out what it is, if you just get in the habit of using it, every time you're going to pick up your phone and Google something, don't ask chat. It may not be right every time. There's still some, little quirks about it occasionally, because it's a developing technology. But if you just use it in that sense, I use it to plan vacations. I use it to analyze like blood work. I use it for all kind work, set up workouts, supplement plan, like everything. And I think if you get in the habit of doing that on a regular basis, then you're going to be much more likely to start using it in your real estate, because you'll have ideas that come up. Oh, I can use it for this and I can use it for that. And that's the real power of it.
Yeah. I mean, one of our realtors, when we set them up with we have a team subscription of ChatGPT for everybody in Cloud Team. They get it for free. Whenever somebody onboards, we set them up with the team subscription. And so one of our realtors, they weren't understanding exactly like how they could use ChatGPT. And I sat down with them. I'm like, next time you have a problem, stop yourself and say, how can ChatGPT help me? And so so this realtor actually did this, but she did it in her personal life. And she went to in the front of her house, and her garden bed was like just empty and just, and so she took a picture of her garden bed and said, I'm in, this city. Give me some native plants that I can plant here that'll thrive. And it did. And it made pictures for her. And then she went to the nursery and she's like, I need this, 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 and this. And they're like, are you a botanist?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, they're just, ChatGPT told me that they would do well here. And they're like, yeah, they will. Wow. Okay. Yes. And they set her up. So that doing things like, we have a GPT that our realtors use, that they go in the house, and if it's okay with the client, they take pictures of the house and say what should be done to make this house more sellable. And then it'll be like, put the dog outside, remove the rug, change out that table, reorganize this, hang a mirror there, just some things to help realtors out. But you don't have to think so much, right?
Yes.
It's that
we have so much
mode.
Well, yeah, we have so much in our day, because everybody, especially in our space in real estate, we either have, families we have to attend to, or we have, some people have other jobs. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. And just sometimes organizing your day and coming up with a plan on how you're going to attack the next day. That's where I really started using it. It's like, hey, I've got these 5 things I need to do tomorrow, in importance of rank. So like, how should I set up my day to make sure I accomplish all these things? And, it's like, I joke in my class, if you could have Warren Buffett, or you could have, Brian Buffini, or you could have, whoever in your phone that you could call at any time and ask them advice on what to buy as a stock, or what to, how to sell to your neighbors, or whatever. That would be the most invaluable tool on the planet. And that's literally what you have right now in your pocket. And it used to be, you had to go through Google and you had to look at different pages and sort out what they were doing. And now Gemini will pop up and say, hey, here's the things that you're looking for, but here's also the pages. And then you have sites like Perplexity, which is an amazing, it's an amazing browser search engine, just like Google, that you can use. It's powered by AI, that not only gives you the suggestions, but then cites all the references from where it comes from and asks you additional questions. And that's the part too that all these LLMs do, which are, if you don't know, an LLM is a large language model. This is ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude X, or Grok, I'm sorry. That's what these are. And not only does it give you the data and give you the information that you asked for, but then it'll have at the bottom, do you want me to do this? Would you like me to do this? Do you have this other question? You're like, you didn't even think of that. And you're like, oh yeah, do that, please.
Right. Yeah. We did. We actually built, I don't know if you can see this. It's a GPT inside ChatGPT, trained on 25 years of real estate experience of top producers, their habits, what they did, all the different stuff. So his name's Coach Reese, and only people who work at Cloud Team can use it. It's a team GPT. But
Right.
our agents use Coach Reese every day, and so he helps them like a real estate coach would. And so like there's really cool things that you can do. So if you know how to teach people how to make custom GPTs, that's a really powerful capability.
Yes.
Projects in ChatGPT is also really powerful if you know how to use it.
Yes. That's a new
Um,
feature. I've just been using that a lot lately. Yes.
what we teach our realtors is every deal that you have in the pipeline, make a project out of it,
Create a
and then
project. Yep.
yep. So like we do projects by address or by buyer, so as an
Well,
example.
and as a team lead and founder of Cloud, and even brokers out there, you know the power that this has to take away the time that you spend on the phone with your agents every day, asking legal questions, asking questions about surveys and title and how to market and all this kind of stuff. If you have those tools, just your amount of phone calls and text messages that you get every day from your team, I would imagine is just significantly reduced when they have access to those tools, especially when you're like, they call you with a question, you go, well, did you ask chat? And
Yeah,
they're like, oh yeah,
exactly.
I guess I could do that. Do that first and then come back to me.
That's right. That's right. So we also like took the same kind of tech that's behind the scenes of like Coach Reese, and we put it in front of a phone number. So instead of even open the chat, you can call Coach Reese on the phone, like just traditional
Wow.
call him on the phone, and you can talk to him, and he'll give you advice over the phone, and so
That's
he's
awesome.
a therapist in a way, as a coach.
Here's how I'm feeling today. Like, yeah, yeah. I always tell people, I
That's right.
joke too. I'm like, anytime you deal with chat, say please and thank you because you never know. Right? You never
And it
know.
apparently costs a lot of money. The politeness. Did you see that post? Like Sam Altman
No,
said, yeah, the pleasantries apparently cost a lot of computational power and water, and so like
really.
us being nice to the GPTs costs a lot of money.
Wow, I did not know that. Okay, well, I guess I'll stop being nice. Well, although it's not my money, so
That's right. You're paying for the tool anyway, right?
that's right.
So
That's right. All right, so I want to get a little bit into your background because most of the time in this kind of thing, we have people in the real estate space that start getting into tech and learning about it and
yeah,
going through the process. And it's unique to have somebody that came from the tech space and moved into real estate because they saw a gap there, which I'm sure you did, and that's kind of why you made that jump.
that's
So
right.
tell us a little bit about your background, like where you started, how you got into tech in general, and then what kind of focused you on AI and moved you into real estate.
Yeah, that's a long story, so I'll sum it up. I started coding when I was 8 years old, and I've
Wow.
worked at Fortune 500s. I've built startups. Most recently, I came out of Best Buy, where I led our cloud products and engineering, and I rolled out generative AI to all the engineers at Best Buy, and we increased the speed of idea to production by 55%, and this was 2 years ago.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so what I saw though is we were applying generative AI to cost reductions, and I left Best Buy about a year ago,
Okay.
and I decided that I wanted to apply generative AI to sales, basically revenue generation, not cost reductions. And so
Okay.
I thought real estate's a really great place because it's one of the biggest transactions someone will ever make, right? And
Right.
so like my big bet is that I can create bionic agents, and meaning like give people Iron Man suits, right?
Okay.
Uh,
Mhm.
and so I believe it's that I know that's true because like I can do that. And so what we can see from the people who do join Cloud Team is they become very we have compressed the time that it takes to become competent and confident in the real estate domain because of the things that we have built and we outfit and teach our agents on how to do. So everything I've done in my life has been technology based. And when I got to the real estate world, I saw, like I told you in the very beginning, the failure rate of the career for people, right?
Right.
So we built a brokerage that's founded on education and learning. And I believe large language models are the great unlock for education. It is the single biggest investment that you can make in your own personal education journey. And it's the smallest. It's the smallest financially, but the biggest upside because you can learn anything. You can learn
Yeah.
anything.
No,
And
yeah, I'll take YouTube videos that are 45 minutes long that probably have about 15 minutes worth of information that I really want. And instead of having to sit there for 45 minutes and listen to it, I either upload the link directly into chat, which you can do if it's public, or what I really like to do is I have a software called TurboScribe that I pay for. That's like 15 bucks, 20 bucks a month that I
yeah,
can put that in there. It'll transcript the entire episode. And then I take that transcript and drop it into chat and just ask it questions on what I'm looking for. And I can take a 45-minute YouTube video and learn everything I need to know from it in about 5 minutes. And it's awesome.
I'd say I'll save you some money. Go put that in Notebook LM instead. They can do it for
Okay.
free.
Okay.
So
There you go.
and they're going to read, Notebook LMs by Google. So Google also owns YouTube. So you can also pay for Notebook LM if you want, but you can do the YouTube thing for cheaper.
Oh,
Um,
okay. See, learn
I'm
something
all
every
about.
day. Love it.
I love saving money. So
Yes.
um,
Me too.
when I got my realtor license, I did the whole realtor school thing, and I got my license, and then I felt like I was dropped off on the corner by the realtor bus, not knowing what to do next. Right?
Just like
And
everybody else. It's a very similar story to most.
exactly. And so like I thought about like how does somebody like become a realtor once they get their
Right.
license. And so we mapped out kind of that process as we went through the journey ourselves. And we built an onboarding program called Ticket to Launch. And it's basically step by step how to like become a successful, real estate agent. And it baked into this thing is everything that we can think of for AI. And so I was telling you, like, you can talk to Coach Reese on the phone. We also built um, fake homeowners that you can call on the phone and you can learn how to do cold calling, and in complete privacy, in complete anonymity, and
Hmm.
and you can mess up and you can call that person back and they won't remember you because they're not real, right?
So
And so
it's like a simulator. You created a real estate simulator. I love it. That's
yeah,
awesome.
so like you can do that, you can do all sorts, and this is backed by AI, but like that's just normal work, right? So
Yeah.
many people come to me and say, how do I integrate AI into my work? And it's like I don't know how to answer that question. Like, what are you
There's
doing
a
more than
million.
one? You know,
Yeah.
what are you?
Right. Right. Right.
I hate like the idea of like burning a potential opportunity because I messed up on the phone because I'm learning how to talk to people on the phone. You know,
Right.
so yeah, we built those things. So like it's just normal like phone. Let me let me give you an example. So this guy, his name is Logan Spencer. Not really. He's a
Right.
busy millennial homeowner who values efficiency and digital innovation. Logan's in between meetings at work and he's going to answer my call out of the blue. And while he's not actively selling his home, he's expecting a big tax refund as considering buying a new home. So I'm going to call him on the phone right now. Let's see here. Good morning. This is Logan. Hi, Logan. This is Jeff from Cloud Team Realty. How you doing?
Hi, Jeff. I'm doing well, thanks. I hope you're doing well too. What can I help you with today?
So, Logan, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about tax refund season is coming up, and wanted to talk to you about your home and maybe moving into a new home and using that tax refund as a down payment while being able to still keep a lot of that cash that you get from selling your home. Would you be interested?
I appreciate you reaching out, Jeff. I'm definitely in the market for a new home, and the idea of using my
That's good. Yeah. So basically, in our ticket to launch process, we have tons of these homeowners, and our new realtors talk to these people on the phone, and they figure out how to like get through the puzzle, right? So that they can get a listing, or so that they can help a buyer out. And so like it's like that's the idea I see about applied AI for education. You're educating people in real life scenarios on how
Yeah.
to help someone really, right? And a lot of times you're just trying to help them help themselves.
That's really like that's amazing. I mean, and I don't say that lightly because there are, when you said earlier, when people ask you how can I use AI to streamline my business or whatever, and you were like, I don't know how to answer that question. Well, my first response in answering that is like, it can do a billion things. Like, what specifically are you talking about? Because there isn't much it can't do, right? There's a ton of stuff. Now, speaking on what it can't do, and people that listen to this sometimes will think, okay, you're just talking about ways for me to be replaced. What do we even need humans for? People don't want to talk to AI. They want to talk to human beings, which all of those things I agree on, except the replacement part. So I want you to speak a little bit about, because this is a big part of your, pitch, or your preaching out there, is that this isn't a tool to replace you. Like you said, it's a tool to enhance you, like your Iron Man. I think that's a perfect example, because you're taking an average person, Tony Stark, I mean, he's got the thing, but you're taking an average person and you're building tools around them to make them powerful, right? You're not replacing them. And I think when people think of AI, there's plenty of jobs that it's going to replace. I think there are a ton of jobs it's going to replace, but mine being one of them. But as an agent, I don't see a world, at least right now, that it's going to replace that, because the story I tell often is, in which I think one day I'll be able to do this. But when my wife and I first bought our first home, my mom was a realtor, my grandmother was a realtor, my wife is a realtor now, but she wasn't back then, and I wasn't even in mortgage at the time. And we were going around looking at homes, and we were young, in our early 20s, and we went to a particular house over here in Mansfield where I live, and went inside the house, and my wife loved it. She's like, it's got the floors done, it's got the granite countertops, the backyard's good size, it's got several bedrooms, layout was great. Like, she's like, this is the house, this is the house. And my mom, who'd been doing real estate for 25 years, she said, I love it too. She's like, but do me a favor, come with me outside. And so we walked outside. We didn't have kids at that point, but we were planning on having kids. And she said, I want you to look up and down the street, and I want you to tell me what you see. And my wife kind of looks around. She goes, there's a lot of cars on the street in the neighborhood. Like, there's cars all up and down the street. She's like, yes. She's like, these are big homes. There are a lot of multi-generational families living in these homes. And so you have 3, 4, 5 cars per house. You have 2 in the driveway. The driveways weren't real big. Then you have 1 or 2 on the street. And she was like, so that means there's going to be a lot of traffic up and down this street. And there's not a lot of room to play up front. You got to be careful. So if I were going to have children, and I know you guys want to, I don't know that this is the right place for that, because for safety reasons, there's just a lot of traffic on this road. I know it's a residential neighborhood, but there's a ton of people that live here, and they're going to be driving up and down the street every single day. And that wasn't something that we were thinking about. We were just looking at the aesthetics of the house and what we liked about it and everything else, but not considering that piece. So I always tell that story, because I feel like that is a good example of how experience and time served doing that job is something that a technology can't really fully replace. At least not yet. Maybe one day you can take a picture of it and it'll tell you. But you got to ask the right questions, I suppose. But that's just one example of a billion of them that I do not feel like these AI tools are going to replace the realtor's job. I feel like they're going to enhance it and make you that much better to serve that many more clients with that much more data. So I want you to speak a little bit to that, about why you really feel passionate about, because you're not in a place, from what we talked about or I've read about you, that you think AI is just, y'all just get out of the way and let it do its thing. You still have to have the human element.
Yeah. They call that in our industry, human in the loop.
Okay.
Our industry, not real estate, just the tech industry.
Right.
So I did a post on this on LinkedIn. Real estate is deeply personal. And what you were talking about there is something that is a deeply personal situation. As a programmer, a technologist, software person, or used to be, I became a leader, in the later part of my years. I saw that, I foresaw that AI was going to completely replace software engineering as we know it today.
Yep.
And I decided that I needed to pick a profession that I felt it wasn't going to touch anytime soon. And so I had already become decent with people, and most engineers aren't.
Right. That's unique in your field. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so I'm like, you know what? I can do this. I can completely change careers into something that I think is much more sustainable over time. I think that there's a lot of things that will be replaced. To your point, engineering first and foremost is the first place we really apply generative AI. I think teachers are probably coming up next. Doctors, lawyers, not judges, but lawyers for sure. I don't need.
Yep.
Thomson Reuters has a really cool app, and you don't need a lawyer anymore.
Yeah, we my wife and I just bought a business that she's going to kind of run. It's a Hotworks. It's like a workout,
Okay.
membership based. Yeah, and when I drew up the purchase contract, because there's nowhere online. I mean, you can pay for stuff and get it, and they're all kind of generic. So I just pulled some of the free versions. I uploaded them into chat to give them an idea, told them what we were trying to buy, how much, what the terms, etc. And I went back and forth with it a few times just to kind of refine it or whatever. And then I dumped it into other AI models to review it and say, okay, I took what I got out of chat, I dumped it into Grok, and I dumped it into Gemini. And I was like, okay, give me your feedback on this. And I created an entire purchase agreement that was pretty rock solid, for a business just right from that.
Yeah. So for hours and thousands of dollars you would have spent with a lawyer,
Yep.
you could still have a lawyer review it, but you wouldn't have
Sure.
to draft it,
Nope.
and such. So you've saved yourself a ton of time and money, and I commend you for that.
Yeah.
I call that riffing with the GPT. You're going back and forth, right?
Yeah.
When we talk about like real estate, you mentioned, like I was talking about augmenting. That's really what I believe. Many of the roles that will be left over in the future are going to be roles where people are augmented by AI. And so any role, I think every area of our world is going to have some sort of AI element or augmentation capability. So it's not something you can get away from. It's like the car, you you can drive a horse and buggy still. That's
Yeah,
okay.
you can get around in it. Sure.
Not many people do,
Yeah.
and
Or you can drive a Tesla and go 0 to 60 in 1 second. Yeah.
exactly. So I feel like
Yeah.
AI is like that type of revolution.
Yeah.
It is a significant disruptor, and at the same time, I don't believe AI will replace agents. I believe agents who use AI will replace those agents.
Yes. That's a great way to put it. Absolutely. And that's the thing too, is people are scared of technology, generally speaking, especially if you're not in it every day. Not everybody, obviously, engineers that deal with it all the time are, but, especially like I'm 46 years old. I'm not, a spring chicken, and I just started because it's only been around for a couple of years. That's the thing I think a lot of people also don't realize is, I read something, and I don't have the exact number because things get muddled in your brain, but it was something like, it was talking about how fast it took for different technologies to get to 1 million users, right? And it said like Facebook, it took it like 7 years. And then it went to like Instagram, took like 4. Google, to some extent, because it first came out, it took like 7 or 10 years. It took a lot of time, and it kind of went down the line. And the closer you get to today, the faster. TikTok was like 2 years or something like that. And ChatGPT, from the point it launched, which was in 2022, right? November. Is that right? Something like that.
It's when it got good enough. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it went from 0 to 1 million users in like 6 months, just overnight. It just jumped there. And so, to stick your head in the sand and not, learn this technology, like you said, and I think that's the fear, is because this happens a lot. I'm sure this happens on the real estate side. It happens with mortgages. We go to a new company or we start a new job or whatever, and you're given like 75 tools, right? The bank's got your CRM, they've got your app, they've got your, follow-up lead system, et cetera, all this stuff, right? And it's overwhelming because you're like, okay, well, all of these tools can help me, but I've got to learn how to use all this and implement it and everything else. And it's a hard thing to do. And that's with any technology. And I think, like you said in the very beginning, which we're going to harp on all the way through this, is the key to learning these things and getting it is using them. You just have to use them. And, whether you want to use Gemini, Grok, whatever, Chat's still the best one, I think, overall, because it's got it's the first one out of the gate. It's got the most tools. We'll see how that, progresses. But, and there are things that Grok and Gemini are better at than maybe Chat specific things. But ultimately, Chat encompasses everything. So if you just start trying to use it on a day-to-day basis, you will learn. And what I found doing it that way is I just like my brain exploded because I was like, there's so much I can do with this. Like it was almost overwhelming because you're like, oh, I can do this and I can do this and I can do this. I've got 75 million chats in here with like 100 ideas of stuff I want to do that, I may or may not ever get to. But at least, it just rewires your brain a little bit to start thinking differently. And I think that's the biggest key.
Yeah, 100%. And so I was working on natural language understanding, NLP and NLU. That's what is the underpinning of ChatGPT for us to actually have conversations with it in natural language. I was working on natural language stuff in 2016, and we were building data science tooling for that, right? And so like the folks at OpenAI were starting even before that, like 2010. Mm-hmm. So if you think about it, we're actually 15 years from when we really started heavily investing in this. And Google's been doing a lot of data science for years, search algorithms and things like that. But so what we're seeing is the adoption of a lot of people's investment over time, and the ability for those investments to have matured to a point where it's usable by the general public. And so all it's going to do is get better and better and better. I'll give you maybe the audience something here. If you pay for ChatGPT, like the $20 a month version, you'll get access to chain of thought reasoning models. O3 just came out. And if you group O3 with ChatGPT search, you get a very powerful assistant. I had it go and do a bunch of research for me on the web. It thought for about 5 minutes about what I was talking about. I give good sized prompts a lot of times to give context. There's a whole art and science around that. But if you pay for it, you can start to see like agency coming from these models. I'll say, hey, I'm looking for neighborhoods in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that are up and coming and are probably going to increase in value really soon. You put that into the prompt, add search with the O3 model. It starts reasoning. It goes out and it reads articles. It reads the web. It searches all over. It tells you, like you said, it says what it looked at, and then it tells you what it thought after it looked at it. So like those capabilities are very powerful stuff, and we're at the very beginning. We're still at the very beginning, I think, of what is going to be capable here soon.
Well, I'm glad you said something about prompting, because I want to talk about that just for a second, because you said you started as a coder, right? Since you were 8 years old. And when people think of coding these days, they think of ones and zeros and sitting there with a green screen and you're just pounding away on the keyboard, typing stuff out, which is, that's what it was for a very long time. It still is to some extent. But, and that seems very overwhelming. Like I could never code. I never had the patience to do that. But what I also think is changing in your mind about coding is learning how to prompt and learning how to communicate with AI. Because if you're a realtor and you're successful, you're already a very good communicator. You have to be. You can't not be a good communicator and be successful at this job. So you already have that skill. Now you just have to translate that skill into communicating with this tool, because if you can learn how to ask the right questions, learn how to, and it's trial and error, by the way. It's not something that you can take classes and go online and look, and there's all kinds of stuff you can do with that. But ultimately, it's just reps. It's just practice. It's just, how do I talk to it? What's the result I get? How can I get a different result? And then how do I duplicate that? And I have an entire Google Doc, or several actually, of just prompts that I've used in the past that I use again. And I still refine them every time, because maybe it changes a little bit. The models change a little bit. So you want to adjust, the questions you're asking. But learning how to talk to it and prompting, that's the term that's used, is an invaluable skill to have, because if you can ask the right questions, just like anything in life, I talk about it with underwriting. Like we obviously underwrite mortgages every day. And when we deal with underwriters and we ask questions, you're going to get a response based on the question you ask and how you ask it, right? So if I ask a question in a certain manner to an underwriter, then they're going to say, no, you can't do that. But if I change it up and say, well, what about in this circumstance? And if I add this piece to it, then they say, oh, okay, well, yeah, that is, let me look into that. That is something maybe you can do. So the communication aspect of it plays such a critical role in the usage of it that, it's something that you have to practice, you have to get good at. But once you do, it's immeasurable, the results you can get.
Yeah. I mean, think about, what negotiation tactics,
Right.
ways of having a conversation. You need to take those in to these models. The reality, give it context. It's be like,
Yeah.
hey, chat. My name's Jeff. I work for Cloud Team Realty. I'm having a problem right now. This client is, thinking that their house is worth more than it is. This is the address of it. I click search, because it'll go out to like Zillow and Redfin and everything. I'll be like, and I've known this person for like 10 years.
Yep.
This old, whatever.
Their
Help me,
brother, my brother's friend, et cetera. Yeah.
help me. Actually, no. Ask me some follow up questions so that I can get to a point where I can help this person do what they actually need done. Which is sell
Yes.
their house, and then they'll come up with some questions, and then answer those questions. See, I think a
Yep.
lot of times it's like we do the same thing over and over and over. We don't invest the time in the beginning to get to a better state in the end. And so
Yes.
I encourage anybody who's using these models to invest a little bit more time in the beginning of your conversation to get
Yes.
a better result in the end.
Well, the
They're getting,
questions thing is huge. The questions thing is massive because I figured that out not early on, but kind of halfway through my AI journey. Was I would create my prompt, give it all the details that I could think of. Right, here's all the stuff that I know that I can think of right now. Now I
yeah,
want you to ask me questions about the scenario so I can get the best result from this conversation or whatever. Right, and then I take it one step further because I also just too much sometimes. And it'll say, okay, and it'll rip out 25 questions. And I'm like, oh crap. Okay. Now I got to sit here. So I'll say, you know what? Let's back up one question at a time. Ask me one question at a time and use my answer to help generate other questions. And so
mhm,
then that way, once it gets through a certain amount, it's got a pretty good idea. And there's questions you didn't even think of. You're like, oh yeah, this is the situation with that. Oh, I didn't think. Yeah. Here's this too. And
yeah,
just going through that exercise a few times, because again, it remembers, it learns, it keeps everything in the same chat. So it's so powerful just to be able to use those questions to get to the result that you're looking for, just like you would do with anybody else in a conversation.
that's right. 100%, 100%. And nowadays, since ChatGPT can understand video, at least on the phone, it can understand images. It can create really good images now.
Yeah, it
Which,
does a good job now. Yes, it was
yeah,
terrible like 3 months ago, but now it's great.
yeah. Dolly's been around forever, and it's been great because it was a great beginning. But and now they've released image generation via the API, so you can programmatically do it. You don't have to go inside the UI anymore. But like think about this: like, what do we do as realtors? We do a lot of marketing material, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I think half of us on the planet in real estate use Canva. So like we don't actually have to use Canva anymore. I don't. No offense, Canva, you do great. I think it's great. You just don't have to use it maybe as much.
Yeah.
In fact, like I suck at doing designs. I really do. And so I started creating my business card in Canva, and it wasn't great. And I gave it to ChatGPT and said, "I'm trying to make this look better. Please help me. Um, I think it's okay, but it's not great." And it's like, oh, I'm going to go look out on the web for really good business cards. It went and got a bunch of them. And it's like, yeah, your card doesn't sing yet. Let's turn up the volume, right? I'm like, well, that's witty. Thank you. It's like strip back the palette, reorder the story, let the type breathe, retire the ribbon, choose one modern sans serif. And then it's like, now it should look like this. And it created a version for me. I'm like, wow, that's really good. So then I went back to Canva and I just took its idea to make and put the components on the screen, and I have my business card, and it's
Yeah.
very attractive now. But like
Yeah.
that's leveraging AI to help you in your real estate business. Just things like that. Create a flyer for me. Here's I want you to use this exact house or whatever. There's things that it still doesn't do great, but you can actually now edit. You can do sections of the image and say change this part or remove this building from there, and it'll do that.
Okay.
So really cool capabilities. Not
Yeah,
to talk
especially I
GPT,
love
but
the thing in Canva because I do that too, where I'll ask it to create something for me, an image in chat, and then I just use that as a template on the color schemes and whatever. Because sometimes it messes up text, it has little glitches in it or whatever. But you can use that as inspiration to create the thing that you want to do. You have all the colors. It'll tell you exactly the color palette. It'll tell you the code for the color, so you can put it into Canva and create your brand and all kinds of stuff inside of it. But it's good. It's like the inspiration. It's like hey, you could do it this way. Maybe my version isn't perfect, but you can do it here, have it editable. So now you have all these tools that you can go in and change and update all the time just to get you started. Because I think that's the hardest thing for a lot of people is like, I have this task or this thing I got to do that I've either never done before or it's starting from scratch with some creativity that I just don't have all the time. So help me, create this thing, and it gets you started. And then once you get started, then you're like, okay, yeah, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And that dead brain time where you took forever, just, okay, what am I going to say? How am I going to write this? What is it going to be? You don't have to let it do it for you. You just use it as inspiration to create the thing that you want to create, edit it and change it and do whatever.
that's right. It's like creative writer's block, right? You sit there.
Yes.
We spend way too much time thinking about what we should be thinking about, and just get started. And the easiest
Yes.
thing to do with ChatGPT is tell it your problem. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I'm having problem coming up with ideas for this flyer for this home. Give me some thoughts.
Yes. Yes.
All sorts of good things there. Um, I want to talk a little bit about tooling outside of just ChatGPT.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
I want to give maybe some advice because there's this thing called context switching, and what that means is you go from like one thing that you're working on to an entirely different thing that you're working on, and the time to basically spin up to be productive and valuable in this other thing is actually a significant time waste. Okay, and
Okay.
that's called that time between that is that time wasted between that is cognitive load on you. It's a lot of thinking to get yourself in the new mindset, right? Whatever that is. And so, like when you're looking at tools, think about like how much context switching you'll have to do going from tool to tool as you think about your workflow. And so, as a former developer, when we chose our tool stack for our agents, the number one thing that we looked at was integrations. Can
Yep.
this thing talk to something else easily
Yes.
so that a human doesn't have to get involved and copy paste or whatever, right? I think half of a realtor's life is copying and pasting. Whether that's an address from their CRM into their transaction management system, or from our MLS system into our CRM or whatever. So integrations is a big opportunity to reduce the amount of time that somebody spends on a particular task. So
Yeah.
when we looked at our tool stack, we said, how do we easily integrate all of these things? And so we chose a lot of tools that normally real estate companies don't pick, because they go in and a lot of times we'll pick something like Follow Up Boss because it does really good at following up and drip systems and all that stuff. But is it good at integrating with things? Can it integrate with a good transaction management system, right? So that you don't have to spin that context switching load there. So we didn't choose that. We actually chose a product called Pipedrive,
I've
and
heard of it.
they're doing some really great stuff with AI, and it's more like an AI first CRM. So
Okay.
it actually looks at all of your contacts and things that you're doing, and it suggests the next most opportunistic things that you can do next in order to get a deal to close. And so that's baked in by default, which is really cool. Now the problem is you got to get people to use the CRM, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So that's an adoption challenge. And so when I think about all of the things that we do in real estate and lending, et cetera, a lot of us aren't really good at capturing notes and putting that information into a system. So we've been building tools that fit into the workflow of the realtor so they don't have to enter that stuff anymore.
Okay.
So we have an executive assistant AI called Sandy, and you can just call Sandy on the phone and you say, "Hey, Sandy, I'm looking for somebody in my database." And she can be like, "Oh, okay, who is that?" And it's like, whatever. And she'll find it. And we go, "All right, send him a text message." And she'll send him a text message based on what you say. Or you say, "Hey, Sandy, I'm sitting here with Mike Mills. I want to add him to my database." "Oh, okay, what's his email address?" Blah, 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 blah. Because
Right.
agents are great at talking, but they're not great after a conversation, sitting down and punching stuff into a screen, right?
100%. Yep.
So I look at like how we can integrate things. I look at how we can make an agent's life simpler by not really interrupting their workflow with adoption behaviors that will probably never happen. So
Well, a guy I worked for a long time, he always used to say, like when we would do hiring and things of that nature, is whether you're hiring an assistant or a process, whatever, is he would say, find the person that's good at the stuff that you're bad at, right? Find someone that's going to do the stuff, because I don't want you, if you're not creative and you're not good using Canva or you're not good, whatever, then don't spend your time doing that. Now, if you want to learn that on the side because you just have a hobby, fine. But when it comes to your day-to-day work, focus on the things that you're good at, because you're going to get the most value from time spent on those things than you are trying to learn some other thing that, is going to take forever.
Yeah.
And that's why having someone or hiring someone, or in this case, coming up with a tool that's going to do all the stuff that you're not good at. You're a great communicator. You're a big personality. You like talking to people, but you're terrible at details, making notes and so come up with a tool or buy a tool or whatever that's going to solve that problem, because instead of you trying to recreate the wheel and be great at something you're not, leverage your skills and then make up for your shortcomings with tools and processes.
Yes, 100%, 100%. I mean, that's why I asked ChatGPT to do the business card, because I suck at it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, again, use AI to help you as much as you can before you go out and maybe spend some money on somebody that you may or may not be able to get an ROI on.
Yep.
I mean, that's just, I'm going to say that's Gary Keller's advice, the red light, green light, make sure the thing's working and before you invest more or whatever. I want to talk a little bit about the culture of adoption. And so, because a lot of people are hesitant maybe to try out new things or try out technology, some people are doing it out of fear. Some people are doing it out of, maybe being forced to use it. I would say, look at building a culture around support. And people are people. We're afraid. I'm afraid of door knocking, right? But I still do it because that's what you have to do, and you have to get past those fears. But you got to build this culture that isn't necessarily fear based, but it's about opportunity based. And so, if you can build a culture around that, I think that you'll have a better adoption of generative technologies, because there's a lot of fear behind it. What is the opportunity? What is the win that you can get? What is the time that you can get back by leveraging generative AI? And how can brokerages help their agents? I'd say most agents are feed to death, right? They pay for this, they pay for that, they got desk fees, they got monthly fees, they got office fees, they get MLS fees. Maybe brokerages could do kind of what we did and pay for the ChatGPT subscription for them and give it to them. They're much more likely to adopt something when the culture is all about like, hey, we're going to help you help yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing. I don't see a lot of brokerages investing necessarily directly in the agents themselves, and I think that's a big miss, honestly. But
yeah, again, it goes back to the adoption of technology and using it and thinking differently about it, which, the real estate's been around for a very, very long time and people are stuck in their ways. And, it's just like my least favorite saying of all time is, well, this is just how we've always done it and it works. It's like, okay, well, that doesn't mean that it's the right way to do it. And maybe the results could be much better if you just tried something different and having an open mind about it. And as an agent, if I was thinking about changing brokerages or moving somewhere, those would be questions that I would ask. And oh, by the way, if you want to know what questions to ask, put them in the chat. Say, hey, I'm thinking about switching brokerages and I want to know what's in the back. What should I ask each brokerage when I interview and figure out where the best landing spot is for me? And it'll give you a whole list of stuff that you can go through and ask. So you use it, you literally use it for anything. We're getting close to the end of our time here, and I want to be respectful of that for you. But I am curious because everybody's freaked out about the market right now because we go through these ebbs and flows. They're kind of tied to real estate, but they're also tied to what's going on with the political situation with tariffs and and the market's moving the 10-year treasury and all this kind of stuff in stock market and jobs and whatever. So when you looked, I don't know if you've done any research on the market itself and where we might be headed and opportunities inside the market that, anytime things are slow, it doesn't mean there's not business to be had. It just means there's less business. And it means that you have to be better at going to find that. So, with your research, and if you've looked at, are you seeing or you think there's opportunities out there that agents just aren't aware of or things that could be opportunities in the coming 6 to 12 months that, they should go after and look into to try to generate more business?
Yes. I think from my experience, most agents don't actually put the effort in just right now.
Yeah.
When 2020, 2021 during the COVID season, you see the agent count like go through the roof. Everybody was a real estate agent then, I guess, except me. I don't know.
You're late to the game. Yeah.
I'm late to the game. I think that the biggest opportunities are in the worst markets. Honestly, I do all my buying when everything looks really bad. It's the best opportunity. So think about it this way, there may not be as many of the normal type people, selling, but I don't like to talk about, and I don't like to think about people losing their jobs, but there's a lot of layoffs happening. Those people might need to sell their home. Those people might need to move somewhere else because they need to relocate to a new job. Look at what is happening out there. See what you can do to help those people because they're going through some tough times. There's a lack of affordable housing in DFW. House prices are through the roof. Credit is okay, but rates are high. So find different types of loan products to help people get into homes. Work with some of the builders who are doing more affordable housing, because I think a lot of people that are losing jobs right now, they're high paying jobs or federal jobs, that probably had a good income. They're not going to be able to maybe buy that $600,000 house over in Mansfield,
Right.
but somebody is. So who are those people? And so I would say maybe talk to Chat about, have it do some searching and ask it about different areas and what maybe the average household income is in a certain area, what maybe the household roles might be, what they might be doing. And then you just apply some strategy to it. And then you got to go do the work. You got to go meet those people. You got to go talk to those people. So, I think that with the market, there's lots of opportunity. You just got to look at different places.
Yeah. Well, that's where the human side comes in. The work still has to happen. It can't do the work for you. You still have to do it. There's no replacement for that. So that's, you still got to take step one and physically go do what you're planning on. On the GPT thing too, when you were saying that, I was thinking of, part of what building a GPT. So when I do the class, what I teach agents how to do is build their own GPT, meaning this is me. This is my contact information, the brokerage I work for. I even have have them upload text messages and emails. And, if anybody's ever done any audio, anytime I do podcasts with people, I'll say, take the transcript and put that in there because it learns your voice. It learns how you talk, how you communicate. And then there's a questionnaire that I have them fill out. Like, what are they have dogs, they have kids, where do they live? What schools are they involved in, et cetera. Like all the information about their personal, them personal themselves. Yeah. And we upload that all into the GPT. And one of the very first questions I have them ask once the GPT is created is, what's my niche? What is a market or a group to sell to that based on my skills and my background and everything else, because people want to work with people that they're similar to. So where should I focus my efforts? And just that thing alone at the end of the class blows people's mind. Like, yeah, this is exact. And then they'll dive into that thing. Okay. If like I did one for my wife in the very beginning, and she worked for Club Corp, and she sold country club memberships for years, and golf, and luxury. So it gave her all that information. That's exactly what it told her. It was like, here's what you need to do. Here's the places you need to go to. Here's who you need to talk to. Here's the way that you go about it. Because now it knows you. It knows your communication style. It knows everything about you. And now it can really start generating or responses specific to you, and not just the general, well, go get first time home buyers or trade up people or whatever. And just that little piece right there, and it literally takes like 45 minutes to build this out. So build it out for 45 minutes. And then that is your personal little assistant that's going to guide you, like your digital version of you, that's going to guide you along the path. And then when you start adding all those other pieces to it, like you guys have at your place, and you can start taking how you want to do it, dumping it into those, and then asking it, okay, based on what you know about this, how would I do that? It's mind boggling the things it could do. But all of that's great. All of that's wonderful. But like you said, you got to do it. You have to go do it.
Got to do the work. And then your follow-up prompt to that is now make me a real life action figure picture of myself. Oh man.
Oh, if I see one more of those, I'm gonna.
Oh boy.
Well, it's funny. Some of them, the stuff that they like, their little accessories are a little questionable. Sometimes I'm like, what is that supposed to be there? It's a little dicey.
On mine, it made an accessory called the lead launcher. And so like, I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. So.
That's hilarious. Well, Jeff, I can't thank you enough, man. This is truly, I try, I've had episodes before where, I talk AI with people, and I find more and more sometimes with these, like, and I'm not even considering myself an expert, but I'm talking with folks, and I'm like, I think I know a little bit more about this than even you do, but this has been great, man. The amount of information that you've given, and the real tools and real ways to use it, I think is so incredibly important, because people talk about it all the time. You'll go to a title company and they'll have some realtor or loan officer or some talking about AI, and they're just telling you how to sign into ChatGPT and create your account. And it's like, okay, well, that's great, but what else? What do I do here? And we're missing here's how you do it. Here's the steps. Here's what you go about. And here's different ways you can use it. And I think once people's mind gets opened up to, like the example you gave about the flower thing, I did the exact same thing. I live on 3 acres here in Mansfield. We're in a floodplain, so I get water rushing through all the time. I have a terrible time with my grass. I have like 100 trees, and I just dumped all this information into it. And I was like, I need to figure out how to make my grass stay healthy and grow. And it's like, okay, get this type of seed, this type of fertilizer, plant it this time of year. Here's your calendar for when you need to put it all in, and just lays it all out for you. And so when you start thinking of this tool and using it in ways that you didn't even consider before, and I love what's your problem? What's the problem you're having today? Okay, well, dump it in there. It's going to help you solve that problem. And that will open up your brain to so many other ways and other methods that you can use it, that you'll become very proficient very quickly.
That's right. It was ChatGPT 4 when I realized the machine was better than me. And I couldn't move forward until I swallowed that pill. But once I did, it unlocked my brain.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, now I can do this.
Yes.
And now I can do this and this and this and this 100 times faster. And so we can just kick the crap out of everybody that doesn't use it, because of the fact that, like, it's just like I got a race car and you have a wagon. So good luck.
Yep. Well, I do want to encourage, if anybody hears this and is very interested in Cloud Team Realty and what they're doing and learning about their tools, please give Jeff a call. In the show notes, I'll have his email, contact information, so you can reach out anytime. And I'm sure, like you, like most people that are passionate about this stuff, people call me all the time, and I'll just talk. Yeah, here's what I know. Here's what I think. Here's whatever, it's just a conversation to have with folks so you can learn more about it. And when you have somebody that's already built out all these systems for you, and you're not recreating the wheel from scratch, the amount of efficiency and power that you can have in a market like this, I don't think can be overstated.
Yeah, 100%. We have a saying at the company here: buy what build what differentiates, buy what doesn't.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. We look at what we can buy instead of build. And I encourage anybody who, there's no secret sauce. The secret is do the work. That's what the secret is, because only 1% of the people do the work.
That's
And
right.
so, we're just applying AI to it too. So I encourage anybody, if you want to reach out and talk, I'm open. There's no secret sauce. You will probably have a hard time beating us because we're that good. And we actually have engineers on staff. Most brokerages, they don't even have an engineer, somebody who knows how to code anything. So,
That's crazy.
The reality is we're not selling our stuff. We're trying to empower agents and help people, help homeowners, and obviously business owners too, because we're in commercial. So reach out and we'll talk. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for everybody that stuck around. I appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this. I'm really the next couple of weeks, as I get back into it a little bit, I've been on a little hiatus. We're really going to focus a lot on tech and AI inside of real estate, different specific tools, how to use them, when to apply them, because that is where our industry is going. That's where every industry is going. And if you're not on the right side of the curve on this, then you will get left behind. So please tune in, find out. We're going to be here with tons of tools and tips. So I hope to see you guys back next time. Jeff, thank you very much. It's been awesome. Look forward to doing it again. We'll definitely do this again sometime.
Yeah, we should do it in person.
Yeah, absolutely.